There's almost nothing more stressful than when your kid is sick, right? That feeling of helplessness, the worry, it can be totally overwhelming, especially when they've got that dreaded combo, a sore throat and a fever. So today, we're going to build a really clear, simple plan to help you get through it with a whole lot more confidence.
Picture this. It's the middle of the night. Your child is crying, they feel hot, and they tell you their throat hurts. This is that moment every single parent dreads. So what do? Do you wait it out? Do you call the doctor? Do you run to the ER? It feels like this huge decision, and you have to make it right now.
And hey, if you feel that intense wave of anxiety wash over you, you are not alone, not by a long shot. A study of parents in Malaysia found that a whopping 72% are always worried when their child has a fever. That worry is real, it's valid, and it's a totally normal part of being a parent. Turns out this intense anxiety actually has a name. It's called fever phobia. It's this deep, unrealistic fear that can sometimes, lead us to do a little too much, maybe give medicine when it isn't really needed, or lose a ton of sleep over something that would have been fine on its own. So our goal today is to replace that phobia with a framework, to turn that fear into a focused, confident plan. Okay, so before we jump into the solutions, let's just take a minute and really get to the root of this worry. Because understanding exactly what we're so afraid of, that's the first step to actually managing that fear. That same study dug into the specifics, and what did they find? Well, parents are terrified of a temperature that just keeps climbing, and of course, seeing their child in pain. But underneath all that are these huge, profound fears of the absolute worst-case scenarios. I mean, look at this. Almost 68% fear seizures, over half fear brain damage, and nearly 40% of parents fear death. These are really significant, deeply held fears.
And while those fears are so valid, here's the reality. The overwhelming majority of the time, the cause is just a simple illness, usually a virus, that the body is perfectly capable of fighting off on its own. So the real challenge isn't just treating the illness, it's knowing how to tell the difference between what's common and what might be critical.
And that leads us right to the first and honestly the most important fork in the road. Are we dealing with a virus, which just needs time and lots of cuddles, or is it bacteria, which might actually need antibiotics? Getting this one question right is the key to everything that comes next.
Believe it or not, the first clue is often pretty simple. Generally speaking, a viral sore throat, which is the most common kind by far, it usually comes with friends, like a cough and a runny nose. But a bacterial sore throat, like strep, it tends to be a bit more of a solo act. It shows up suddenly with really bad pain and, this is the crucial part, usually without all those other cold symptoms. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit and look at the more specific things a doctor would look for. This table gives us some really great clues. With strep throat, you're more likely to see a really angry, red throat, maybe even some white spots on the tonsils, and those glands right at the front of the neck will be tender and swollen. A viral infection, it's usually a lot milder with less of that dramatic stuff going on in the throat itself. All right, so let's say the signs are all pointing towards a common virus. Your kid has a cough, a runny nose, a kind of sore throat. This is where your home care plan kicks into gear. And look, the goal here isn't to cure the virus, it's just to keep your child comfortable and to watch them closely while their amazing little body does all the hard work. And that plan really just boils down to 3 simple steps. Step 1, manage their pain and fever. Use some paracetamol or ibuprofen to take the edge off. Step 2, push those fluids. This one is absolutely key. And step 3, rest and observe. Just let them rest. And you become the watcher. That's your most important job. And speaking of fluids, let's really focus on dehydration for a second. It's one of the biggest risks when it hurts to swallow. So what are you looking for? Well, are their mouth and lips dry? When they cry, are there actually tears coming out? Are you changing fewer wet diapers than normal? These are all little signals that you need to get more aggressive with fluids or maybe even call for some advice. Okay, so you've been doing all the right things at home, but you're still not sure. The symptoms feel a little bit mixed and your gut is it's nagging you that something might be up. So how do you move from just worriedly watching to confidently making the decision to call the doctor?
Well, the good news is you don't have to just guess. There are actual evidence-based tools out there for this exact situation. This one is a clinical scoring system called the Fever Pain Score. It's a tool that helps predict how likely it is that you're dealing with a bacterial infection.
And it's super simple. You just go down the list and give 1 point for every yes. So F is for fever in the last 24 hours. P is for purulence, that's pus on the tonsils. A is for attending rapidly, meaning the sickness came on really fast.
I is for inflamed tonsils, and N is for no cough or runny nose. So you add up your points, and what does that score actually mean?
Well, this chart breaks it down perfectly. A low score, like a 0 or a 1, means there's a really low chance of it being strep, only about 15%. If you're in the 2 to 3 range, the probability jumps to around 37%. This is kind of your watch and wait or maybe call for advice zone. But if you get a high score, a 4 or 5, there's about a 64% chance it's strep, and that makes calling the doctor a really clear and easy next step.
Okay, now we need to talk about the rare stuff, the really critical situations. These are the symptoms that completely bypass all the scoring systems and home care plans. These are the signs that mean you need to get medical help right away. First, and this is the absolute most important one, any difficulty breathing. If you hear wheezing, see them straining to breathe, or they're making weird noises when they inhale, that is an emergency. This isn't just about a sore throat anymore. It's about their airway. If they're struggling so much they can't even swallow their own spit, that's a 911 call, no question.
And this goes hand in hand with that last point. If your child is suddenly drooling a ton, especially if that's not normal for them, it could be a sign that the swelling in their throat is so bad they physically can't swallow. It's a huge red flag for potential obstruction, and you need to get it checked out immediately.
Next up, a stiff or really swollen neck. And we're not just talking about the kind of tender glands you feel with a regular cold. We're talking about major swelling or if they can't touch their chin to their chest. This could mean the infection has spread deeper than just the throat, and that needs to be assessed urgently.
Finally, there's this clinical term, toxic. But honestly, every parent knows exactly what this means. It means your child just looks incredibly sick. Maybe they're limp, they're not responding to you, you can't wake them up easily, or there's just something about them that is setting off every alarm bell in your body. Trust that instinct. It is one of the most powerful tools you have.
So you might be thinking, why all this fuss about telling the difference between a virus and bacteria? Why does it matter so much? Well, this quote explains everything. Untreated strep throat can, in some rare cases, lead to something called rheumatic fever, which can cause permanent damage to the heart. This is why we don't just guess. The stakes are just too high.
So there you have it. We've gone from that initial panic to a clear, step-by-step plan. Look, the goal is not to get rid of the fear entirely. That's impossible. It's part of being a parent. It's about taking all that nervous energy and channeling it into a structured approach so you can make the best possible decisions for your child. And hopefully, the next time a fever hits, you'll feel a little less anxiety and a whole lot more confidence.